Okay, we have to move forward a little bit. Today we will start our discussion on science and general knowledge. And as we are all always saying that primary school teacher is not a subject specialist. Primary school teacher has to know everything of the level that she is supposed to convey to the learner, and a little bit more than that, so that she can ask interesting questions. And as our framework is play, question, reflection, and story, the real questions are why it happens, and what if things would be like this, what would happen. So the why and what if questions are interesting questions, but it's very important then the teacher is skilled that much or has given a very good overview, but in a very simplified, understandable, and a story format. The story of natural things around and the phenomena around us, and the story of objects and inventions around us. So these stories we have compiled to equip our primary school teachers, so that one, she enjoys the miracles of these things which are everywhere, and then she conveys this habit of looking into the miracles and asking why questions. So I mean, if I go back to or relate my experience going to school and about the science, that science was a totally, I would say, that's not the way. I mean, from those problems we revert back, no, that's not the way things should have been done. We couldn't ask questions, number one. For example, I remember we were in class 10 or 9 when we first time realized how come the egg, it's liquid type, but we heat it and becomes solid, and the teacher had told us that the solid when heated it should become liquid. Why it's happening otherwise? None of us in the class could venture to ask this thing to the teacher. The very troublesome thing that when I now look back is that not that the teacher couldn't answer or something, we couldn't even dare to say this. So that's even more dangerous, that if a student can't even think this can be done, right? And that was kind of, there are 3 laws of Newton, that how things started when kind of class 9 or something. Impression was given that everything about the forces of the universe is known, and these are the 3 laws, and that's the end of the story. But the science is not like this, and we know for sure that science, we have charted the territory, a very small fraction of it, and there are more unknown things than things known. For instance, just for example, atom. Building blocks, small building blocks are important to know. It's atom or a cell, or the way we were taught were, there is a Bohr model, there is a Rutherford model, there is a Dalton model, there is a something model, and these are the characteristics of their model, and these are the what this model could not describe, and read it and go and regurgitation and vomiting. Absolutely, we had no idea what we are talking about, and how the story was, and who came before and who came after, or what's the beauty of it, and what's the atom is, then at the end what's our learning is. So that is sort of ridiculous. That's not what the science is. So science is about asking questions, and particularly the why questions and what if questions, and about everything that we look around. So what we look around is very simple. As we said, we have to make things very simple and very beautiful in a story form. Very simple in the sense that we discovered 3 forces: gravity, electromagnetism, and nuclear force. And we have discovered three particles likewise, right? You can say the two triangles, three particles, quarks, leptons and bosons, and rest everything is before that. But this was our understanding till, say, a few decades ago. And we thought, we used to think that energy and mass is everything. But now we know for sure, so far, in science nothing is for sure, actually. What was common sense 50 years ago is a nonsense today. Or what was believed or kind of understood at one point in time, and it totally changed our understanding. We thought what is hard and solid is matter, and now we know that this is hardly 1/1000th of part is solid, rest is all empty. About the space, we thought space is weightless, and now we understand its weight is even 4 times more than the matter that we can see, the dark matter. So 4% of the entire observable universe that we have observed is that matter and energy, and 96% is something else. So human beings have yet treaded into a very small territory into the things. And it's in everywhere. We started a Human Genome Project and thought that after that everything we will be knowing about how this human being will grow and what kind of diseases it might catch and etc. When we discovered the DNA code and etc. all that. After 10 years, 12 years of tremendous effort, we realized that less than 10% of the things are transferred actually through DNA. Anyway, that's how we progress, and a new branch, new science, epigenetics, the things that genetics does not explain came. It's same almost in every study that when we did, and eventually we found out that the miracles are actually inside and we know very little about it, right? So anything that we are talking about, whether it's an ink or whether it's how this aeroplane flies, teachers should be able to relate it with the big picture. What force I am talking about, this, and this, what matter I am talking about. So this is the fundamental science. And then how particles, the matter particles, matter and energy is the same thing. That's what Einstein told us and many other big scientists, whether you're going to Paul Dirac or whosoever. Matter is a condensed form of energy. So matter is convertible into the, but these simple things we shall tell in stories. Not this kind of an atom understanding. How human beings' understanding developed from aag, pani, mitti, fire, water, and earth and air to that we have distinct these sort of things and elements and how they form. How they form, why water is very interesting and capable of giving birth to life, among other things. So these questions, if we are talking about sun and moon and earth, the child can ask where they came from. How does moon know that there is an earth around out there somewhere and is attracting me? Why does moon forget about it? Or light is coming in 3 colors. Why 3 colors? Why not 4 colors? If we have 5 senses, then why we have so many tastes around things? Or if 3 colors, why? How come so many colors we see around, or anything? And simple things are even more difficult. So if the teacher knows a story of atom, the story of time, the story of cell, the story of machines. Okay, we started from this machine, let's say, from a wheel, and came to what sort of mechanics and what sort of things. Those stories will then equip our teacher to ask those questions. What's happening? If these particles are vibrating, that's the temperature, right? But what's the maximum temperature we can achieve? What if the child asks why the sun doesn't cool down? And one day when the teacher says this earth was also part of the sun, why did the earth cool down and sun is not cooling down, or it was also cooled down? Or so these questions teacher won't be able to reciprocate with even more interesting questions if the teacher is not equipped with the stories, but stories in the simplified, beautified event. And we will see in every story, actually there are 4 or 5 events. And science, we can now explain with common toys available around us, because that facility of having toys was nowhere so easy than we have it now. Around this toy, we can explain a lot of forces, energies, lights, gravity, everything. So physics is around toys. We say chemistry is in kitchen. Biology is in the flowers and the plants and our own bodies. Why we take air inside, where does it go then, who catches it, and how does it go to different cells. Simple stories. It can be told in a very simple analogy. Cell can be told in an analogy of a kitchen. Atom can be told in the analogy of a brick or anything else. So this is the thing, and the children can ask question: can it happen that I can go to the moon, or I can see a genie, or if I put a cap and people can't see me, is it possible? So they fantasize, they should ask it. Why question and what if question? That's the real fun, which actually connects, which opens up the knowledge. And there's a lot of research on it. Anything described as such, presented, and anything started with a why question, the amount of returning and excitement and the learning that took place was much more than if it was started with why question. And the children, in fact, ask more difficult question. Big question the little children ask, if you let them. It's a very interesting compilation of the children. What are atoms? So then explaining those atoms at the level of the child, do aliens exist? Right? Why do cakes taste so nice? So very simple questions are extremely deep questions actually. And now we have tremendous amount of knowledge, and on the other hand, we have even more questions which we know the science is not answering. We know a lot about animals now, but we know that our perceptions and the animal perceptions we have hardly very little understanding about how they do the empathy and how do they call each other and how do they talk to each other. But these stories, dumbed down, should be conveyed to the primary school teacher. Unfortunately, it's not being done. Even middle school and high school. So we are making those. We have done that stuff, and we'll start sharing the CD. The first beginning of that, I'm doing it today. What a plant knows, for example. Now, it's very interesting that plant can see, can smell, can feel, can hear, can remember. If we tell these things, it connects the child to, oh yeah, this is a plant and this is what plant does. Otherwise, we take plant as something which is just kind of, they don't care about exactly. Even if we keep telling you it generates oxygen, it generates this, but it has a feeling and it has a sense of a presence of things around it. That's a totally different understanding. What a fish knows and how do they go from across the continents. And as last year, probably in 2017, a bird flew continuously 12,000 kilometers from somewhere in the Alaska to New Zealand. Showing these stories, how do they know where to go and how to find ways and what sort of senses they have. They have magnets or they see the stories. Everything around us, from a small pen to a ballpoint, has a story behind it. So these stories never reached us, even the story of the sewing machine or the clock or anything with the children see. And these are amazing stories, and certain things are fundamental and they were the game changers. For example, electricity, for example, internet. So, but what was before it and what is after it and what we are heading to and what is the quantum computing, things should start from the very beginning. As we say, if we are doing language, so it's the linguist 1.1 in front of us. So that's why it's Nobel laureate 0.1 with us. But if the teacher is not equipped, then I think having a Google is meaningless. asking questions is what opens up knowledge to us. Otherwise, these books are all around us, but and can our teacher present the same science in a very interesting manner and can draw it? But if he knows the story, he can even narrate the story very beautifully. That's one part of it. And another part of it is in all those episodes of these bigger stories, the story of cell, the story of electricity, the story of these three forces and three particles, and the stories of our senses and perceptions, and story of the earth and the sun, and a story of human ourselves, and the story of fishes and flowers. We have to tell who were the heroes who did discover and spent their life on it. There are lots of missing big blocks in that which probably were not so easily available, but now are. We tell them the story of early 1900s, 1903 up to 14 something, Wright brothers. But we don't tell them that this story is actually much earlier. Abbas ibn Farnas conceived the idea, did this, etc. So there was a lot of missing part of that story, but some research team internationally have done that part as well. So that our children who are coming from this Muslim civilization, for example, they don't go back with the defeatist mentality. Oh, we did nothing, Newton did everything. Yeah, Newton did everything, but Newton did study somebody on optics, we know, and what was known before that. That is also, and we have to connect it with the future. So that part is also very important, that it should be all connected. So that's what it is, and we'll continue this journey, and this is very, very interesting, knowing about the earth and the cultures and the things around it and making those connections. Thank you very much.